Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to COASTER-net Updates. We've got some breaking news out of Williamsburg, Virginia, where DarKoaster has opened to the media, and we had our man on the scene, Mr. Jeff Goodman. You were there today to ride DarKoaster. What were some of your just initial impressions of the ride itself? We're going to try and get into. Are there going to be spoilers here? Should we warn people already?
I don't want to spoil anything. I mean,
Okay.
there's, I don't, it's not like Verboten where like you might really get surprised by an element or
Yeah.
something like that. Um, but it's a fun ride. My expectations going in were a little low. To be honest, I was like, great, I can go to the park and ride Pantheon, but but um, but we got in the morning and they let us on DarKoaster, and it kind of exceeded my expectations. I think it's going to be a good kind of crossover between like the family crowd and the thrill seeking crowd. I think that like you do want to try it. It's not like a credit run kind of coaster. The
because
one
like
track.
if I look at like the overall scheme, the overall set of like Williamsburg coasters, you got your upper tier stuff like Griffin and Alpengeist and Apollo. And I think Pantheon would probably be in there now. And then you
Mhm.
have like your Invader, which I think is their like besides Air Grover is their like family coaster. And then I would say maybe Verbolten might be the next one up. They have Tempesto, which is kind of like that weird ride that doesn't really fit in anywhere nicely. Um, but where do you think this fits in between like Invader and um what's
Yeah, I mean, like,
Bolton?
so the thing with like, you're going to be here soon too, Andy. But
We are going in June, so
that,
that's
that's not where I'm talking about.
oh
Whenever I'm looking at parks to go to with the family, 'cause
oh
this is a family ride, I'm always thinking about like, well, what kind of rides are there going to be that we can enjoy together and
yeah.
get continual rides on. So a lot of parks you go to, it's the old rides that kind of fit that niche, and they don't even bother making new stuff for families.
Yeah.
Like Arrow mine trains, which were designed to be like the highest thrill attractions at the time, or like Loch Ness Monster might have been that kind of tweener
Hmm.
coaster for a while. But Busch Gardens now has kind of three modern, good family coasters: in Invader, Verboten, and Dark Coaster. I keep saying it.
Don't call it Dark Castle.
No, not Dark Castle. So, but I think Dark Coaster kind of like fits right in there with those three. Like, which one's your favorite? Kind of doesn't matter.
Yeah. Now so the ride experience itself, Dark Castle was known for its pre-show and known for its elaborate queue line and castle theme. And I know after Dark Castle went away, they turned that into a haunt. They kind
Right.
of maintained some of that stuff. So how was that stuff, to talk about the coaster later, how was
Mhm.
Dark Castle maintained for this ride, or was it completely scrapped? I don't even know.
It definitely wasn't completely scrapped, but I did not get to walk through the whole queue. They had us entering through the quick queue area,
Hmm.
and they had a party set up in part of the queue. So like there's like some like ski equipment and like some weird stuff kind of like pointing us towards the present, but like there's there's like a projection image of King Ludwig. There's like various Easter eggs like peppered throughout the queue in the small area that we had the party, like that you could see. And I'd imagine that if we were able to keep wandering through there, that we would keep finding more. And I think that's the kind of stuff that people are going to want to
And
discover on their own.
but to your knowledge, there's no pre-show as there was with Dark Castle.
I don't think so. It looks like that queue area just continues right on into the station.
Yeah, because that was a really nice queue. Like it was a really highly themed area, like going
It
into
it
Castle.
still
Like
looks like a castle.
yeah, so that's pretty cool that they kept a lot of that because I know, um, Did they keep anything from Frostbite at all? Do you know? Was there any like snow themed stuff or besides the
Yeah,
skis you
so there's
said?
outside when you like first enter the courtyard, like at the highest part of the tower, there's
Mhm.
like fake snow coming out.
Okay.
So
So
like
they
it's
are trying
snowing
to make
on
it,
you. Yeah.
yeah, they're trying to make it a little bit more. So I saw that there's King Ludwig was walking around too. They
Yeah,
have
with
the
these
character.
two freaky like people on stilts. They had
Yeah.
like long bony fingers and like their ribs were kind of showing
Yeah,
and they
very
had
hollow screamy.
yeah. Yeah, they had
It,
like a really like creepy masks on too.
now is he part of the ride experience too? When you actually get
Um
on?
so when you're on the ride, there are a couple of projection screens that you go flying past and you do see those characters. Yeah.
Okay, well that's cool. I'm actually asking most of these questions for myself because I have not kept up at all with with this ride. Besides, like the general idea of what happens with it, and to be honest with you, I have a general idea, but I don't know what they. That was an idea that I had like almost a year ago when they first announced it. I don't even know what they actually settled on here. So why don't you talk about the ride experience itself then?
Sure. The ride vehicle. They look like jet skis, but they're snowmobiles. So
Mhm.
they're going to be pretty similar to like the SeaWorld, what they call it, Jet Rescue or
The Jet
whatever.
Rescue. And
Yeah,
it's the same company, right? Who?
yeah. It is an it's an Intamin uh, project, and they're pretty comfortable to sit in. I found that maybe it's just me, but my arms, like I was really reaching to reach
Yeah.
the handles so I could like ride it like a snowmobile because of the way the restraint comes up. But maybe taller people would have no problem with that. The the launch track is short, but it's actually a lot more powerful than I thought it would be. Like you really feel like you're going faster when you hit those launches.
Hmm.
Um, you know, it's hard not to think of Verboten just because it's just right there. So Verboten's got a lot of twists and turns in the dark. This has that, but it also has a lot of ups and downs. There's definitely some airtime in there.
Oh, good.
Um, and there's scenery really close to the track, so it feels fast. I think that the speed was like 35 is what they told us, but like if you would have asked me, I might have said it was faster than that. Just because of how it felt, you can feel like wind coming at you, maybe like fans or something, just or
Well,
just
it
motion.
well, one, when you're in the dark, everything feels faster.
Yeah,
That's just a thing. And I know Space Mountain at Disney,
that was the
um,
other ride I kept thinking about. Yeah,
y-
if it wasn't in the dark, it probably wouldn't have come over so well. But like,
yeah.
I think that really made it work well.
Well, and like if you like I was on the one at Disneyland, and I think Space Mountain at Disneyland is far superior to the one at in Orlando. And it just felt fast, and you're only doing like the same thing, like 35 whatever on Space Mountain,
I think
but
they're
they
even
add those
slower.
fans in
Yeah,
and it makes it feel so much faster.
yeah. So you do two laps
Okay.
in the I guess we were calling it the show building. Um, but they vary the effects. So it
Oh.
doesn't like even I mean, I guess when you ride it a lot and really get to know like where the twists and turns are. But like I was trying to be like, okay, there's that archway, there's clouds, like will I see them the second time around? And like for bigger scenery pieces, you do, but they change the lighting. There's lightning strikes and stuff like that in there when you and the times as you pass by. So it did make it feel like the two laps were like they're two laps, but they made them each feel like a unique experience.
And if you don't know that they're two laps, you might not realize that they're two laps, right? Or do you know
Well, the
before you?
first launch goes through this like archway thing. Like it's like when you leave the station, you're like kind
Yeah.
of in the castle and you're going outside. And then when you come back around, you don't go into the station, but you pass like these stained glass windows and you re-enter that same like area.
Oh,
So like it like maybe you wouldn't think that, but it will look familiar. That part will look familiar.
yeah. How many rides did you actually get on it?
I got a handful. I did make it a point to ride in the front and the back. I
Yeah.
didn't feel like it was an appreciable difference either way. I kind of feel like that with a lot of launch coasters, but the just kind of being in the dark and zipping around is the thrill. It kind of doesn't matter where you sit.
Yeah, I kind of always like lean towards the front being better on launch coasters because you get that initial like pull, I think more than the back does. But yeah, like but you have to be on a really strong launch to really get that feeling. Like on weaker launches, because like you're only doing 35, like you said, so it's not like a
Yeah.
super heavy launch here. So I don't know if you would
Now,
get.
but the launch track is short. You're
Yeah.
going. It's a rolling launch, but you're going from a very slow speed to 35 in just like a few seconds. It does feel faster than I thought it would.
Yeah.
I'll give them good marks on the launches.
Well, and that's the thing is like everyone's going with these unique launches now, and it's kind of like, oh, we see everyone doing launches this year. It seems like this is like the year of the launch almost. Like everything's launched
Cheaper than
this
it
much
looks like.
time. Yeah, it's just simpler, I think, at some
Yeah.
point than trying to build a big huge lift hill, and taking up all that space. Hey, just launch it right into the ride and let's go. I think it's more economical maybe, from that perspective. Maybe not on an everyday basis, but um, did they do anything to the area or they just kept the castle basically?
They obviously made a new sign. It's pretty nice. I'll send you some pictures of it.
Yeah.
The the merch that was available was mostly like t-shirts, a lot of like purple and light blue kind of things. I got you something.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh, look at that. Look at
Magnet.
that. I'm
So that's
surprised
what
Danny hasn't made one yet already. That looks nice. I do
yeah,
like that logo a lot. I also saw from the stuff you sent that they have a lot of Dark Castle merchandise. Was that would I
they did have like, yeah, there was like a throwback t-shirt like right
Yeah.
in between some of the other ones. Um, they're kind of like reusing the escape. So this time we're escaping the storm. The theme is like a paranormal storm, and I don't know what those weird things are, but I'm guessing they're the reason. They're in there. But I don't know what to call them. Banshees?
They're not banshees. They're more like I don't even know what I don't know because they're weird. They're like if you go on Instagram, we've posted some pictures there as well, of the
Freaky
uh
Lady.
of the different characters that were outside, and hopefully they maintain that. Hopefully, I love it when places have characters walking around the area. Like that'd be really cool if that becomes like not just a media day thing.
They were out there all day with all the guests that like we're walking around and just
Yeah,
kind of like noticing. Yeah, that's
yeah. And I could just post that, but
yeah.
they're like skeleton slash poltergeist type deals,
Yeah.
which is kind of cool. So you had an interview here with somebody. Just you won't we'll
Right.
play that, but just lead us in a little bit.
Sure. Susie Chile, who's the park VP, was nice enough to chat with us for a few minutes, and we went over a little bit of the history and the what to expect from the ride.
Cool. So we'll listen to that right now, and we'll be back after the interview.
Thanks for having us here, Susie. So DarKoaster's story is DarKoaster's story. It's kind of like a sequel. Do you want to tell the guests like maybe some of the past and fill in the blanks and what they're going to get to see?
Sure. Honestly, you don't have to know the past to enjoy Dark Coaster, but everybody that was local and everybody that remembers Dark Castle was very, tied to it. Basically, King Ludwig was in the castle. He kind of went a little crazy, and there was a big exit strategy for him, let's say, and that was many, many years ago. So this is set more in today's time. We've had some explorers come revisit the castle. They've noticed some paranormal activity, tried to figure out what was going on, and we're going to have a fog here in a minute. and as we've come back to visit, we found that they have left, but we found remnants of things that are going on. Are very curious, so our riders get to go and ride through the castle on snowmobiles, which is great fun, and kind of see what's going on with Ludwig these days.
So this castle is a great structure to start with. Was there any challenges to work with a pre-existing structure?
Yes, probably things that you guys wouldn't think about, but as an engineer, I thought was pretty fascinating. When we first were working on it, trying to develop the drawings and everything, we had to define the space for the ride manufacturer, right? And we did a 3D survey of the interior of the building. Obviously, we had dimensions of the building from its original construction, but it has HVAC equipment. It has, fire suppression equipment and stuff like that in there. So we wanted to make sure we cleared all that and didn't have any, conflicts as far as that goes. So we did a 3D survey, which was kind of a new thing for me. So that was very important to have initially before we even have the ride path defined.
Was there any new ride technology or theming technology that you guys used to make this possible this time around? Or new for Busch Gardens?
Well, Intamin is our ride manufacturer. On Pantheon, we had one switch track there. We actually have two here. So that's kind of been a newer type thing with us. Obviously, this is a different type of ride than Pantheon. Pantheon was definitely more high thrill. This is more family fun, still thrill, but still a fun ride for 6-year-old, 8-year-old, as well as our.
I think it'll cross over well. Yeah,
I think so too.
It's nice. I bet in the summer to be able to go inside and have a cool place to be.
I think
Does
so.
that mean it'll be available when it's cold out as well, like in the winter?
Absolutely.
That's great.
Yeah, 365 days a year we'll be able to ride this ride. So that's the wonderful part.
So you already said that this is kind of targeted towards families, and
Yes.
Pantheon was kind of targeted towards thrill seekers. How do you decide what audience you want to target a new attraction for?
Well, we look at our portfolio. We look at what other rides we have. I mean, we start with Grover for the little ones at Sesame Forest of Fun, and we go up to Pantheon and Griffin and the more higher thrill rides. But we had done a few of those, and I think it was time for a family ride. So we've always wanted to put another ride back in Dark Castle, and it was perfect timing.
Well, I know my family, we hit all three of those demos, so this is just a great ad for us too. Do you have a favorite aspect of it, or maybe something that you're proud of that you want guests to notice when they ride it?
The whole thing has just been a fun experience. So I can't really think of anything special about it. Yeah. I think people will be surprised at the thrill of the ride. It is a family ride, but when you go through these launches, you definitely feel them, and it's definitely acceleration on your part. So I think everybody's really going to enjoy that. There are 4 launches, and you really do speed through the ride. There's definitely some places where you take some tight turns because you're inside a building. We're trying to fill up as much track as possible. So I think it's going to be well received.
Thanks for talking with us.
Absolutely. Okay, have a great day.
Okay, welcome back from the interview there. So in it, you kind of talked about Pantheon just a little bit, and I have not been on Pantheon yet. I don't know if Danny's been on Pantheon either, to be completely honest. He might have. I tend not to listen to him when he talks. So so what were some of your impressions of Pantheon? Because I'm just curious to know how that fits into the overall, because they've been making a lot of investments in this park. SeaWorld in general has been making a lot of investments in all their parks, with Pipeline at Orlando, and then Icebreaker before. We see stuff going in like Emperor at San Diego. Texas got Stingray a few years ago, and now here, just in the course of a few years, we got DarKoaster, we got Pantheon, which is a huge ride, and
San Diego's building a straddle coaster as well.
Yeah, and then supposedly Williamsburg's not done, right? There's some rumors going on around there that there might be something even bigger coming out of that famed Drakenfire station that they've been talking about for the better part of 20 years now, that they're going to put something there.
There have been balloons.
There have been balloons, but there have been balloons in the past too.
Yeah.
So it's hard to tell. So how does Pantheon and this kind of fit into, first talk about Pantheon and then how it fits into maybe your overall perspective of Williamsburg as a park?
Sure. Well, Pantheon did incredibly well in the Thrilling 32 this year.
It did. surprisingly well.
I
Maybe,
think it was a
yeah,
top 10 ride, I think.
yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, it's pretty close to there as well, but I don't know if it's going to stay there in the thrilling 32 necessarily. Um, the the hang time on the inversions that you take slowly are just insane.
Mm-hmm.
The changes in directions are really fun, and the swing launch was so much better than I expected it to be.
Well,
I
it's good
think,
news for Dragster.
oh yeah, maybe. Um, if they add little humps into that launch,
Yeah.
that's definitely a hit. Because because it's a very strong launch, and you get great airtime going forwards and backwards over that hill. Um,
Mm.
the the big elements, really set you out. I think it's the new star of the park for sure, like
Well,
without it.
and I've always said, Williamsburg is a nice park, but it was missing. Like, I've never been an Apollo fan. Like, I like Apollo. I'm not an
I like
Apollo
Apollo
hater.
too. Yeah,
It's a fine ride. But it's not something that I'm like, oh my God, this is a top 10 ride. Like, I don't even really rank Apollo at all. My favorite ride there has always been, well, it was Big Bad Wolf. So I was very disappointed when they pulled out Big Bad Wolf to put in Verbolten. And then Verbolten kind of became my favorite ride, and we kind of know what kind of ride that is. Um, so it's kind of like, oh well, I've never been an Alpengeist fan. Griffin, you can take or leave. I've felt other dive coasters are better elsewhere. So it's always been like that park where, okay, I like going to the park. I think it's a beautiful park. I think it's a lovely place. It is a little bit far out of the way for me, personally, but now you're talking about, and DarKoaster was actually maybe or Dark Castle was maybe my favorite ride at the park. So when they pulled that out, I'm like, oh hell, here we go. So now reinstating something in that location that might be exciting. And then adding a top tier ride like Pantheon, might change my like you said earlier. We're going to the park, for the COASTER-net meetup this year in early June. So I'll be out there writing some of this stuff, then. But it might change my perspective on the park, where I've always thought Tampa was by far clearly the superior SeaWorld park and the whole chain. I don't think that's going to change, but I think it's going to be a
you
little bit
know,
closer competition.
but Tampa's been keeping up with installing things as well. Like with
Oh,
the exception of Tempesto and Tigris, which I know they kind of went back to that parody.
yeah.
They have not been, putting in equal similar kind of attractions like between,
Well,
you know,
they did
Cobra's Curse
they
moving
did
forward.
Tempesto Tigris. They did the swings because
Yeah, yeah.
Williamsburg did the swing a few
I don't
years.
count flat rides.
Yeah.
Flat rides are flat rides. Every
Um,
park's got that.
and it's like they both kind of like, I don't know, it's like they've been going like the family route, where I feel like DarKoaster and maybe Cobra's Curse are so they're kind of like evening out the lineup. I just feel that the top end of the Tampa lineup with Montu, Kumba, and now Iron Gwazi, and I haven't even been on that yet, is just so far and ahead. But people can make an argument, I suppose. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I do rank the B&M hypers. I really like them. Most of them are up towards the top of my list as well, below Pantheon, but up there. Um, I haven't been on Iron Gwazi yet either. I would kind of expect it to be in that similar range, like with all the love that ride's gotten. That's kind of where I expect it would land.
yeah.
But those are not similar rides. Pantheon and Iron Gwazi. If you say that Dark Castle and Cobra's Curse, I don't think those are similar rides at all.
No, they're not.
And
They're
even for fun, I mean, I don't
yeah.
really think Cobra's Curse is a fun ride.
No,
But
Cobra's
I
Curse is
do
kind of like
think that
there.
Tampa is a great park.
Yeah. It's there. It's like Cobra's Curse is like, okay, it's fun. It's you get some spin on it. If it spun more, it'd be a lot better. It just doesn't spin enough.
It's just
But
all.
yeah, you got the big snake head. That's what it's all about. Is once you see the big snake head, it's like, okay, the ride's over and you just started. So
Right.
But yeah, so hopefully, Williamsburg keeps if they put in one more big thing, which indications say that they might be, it might be interesting to see what happens there. It's just really hard for me to get to. I think it's like 14 hours or something to Williamsburg, Virginia, and it's just a
No, that's a
long
fly.
trip.
Yeah.
Long trip that we're
It's
gonna
about
we're,
it's
we're
about
gonna
as
do in
far
June.
as I would comfortably drive.
Yeah. So are you going to the COASTER-net meetup?
I just took all my days off.
Oh, you just took off the day. Okay. I forgot you teach into like July over where
Yeah, no, the end of June though.
yeah.
Yeah.
I not to make you feel jealous, I only have uh 5 days left. So
Nice. Yeah. If I took off to go to that, it would be like I've missed the last day of class. I'd be missing fun.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
like
tough. That's
it
tough.
would be a bad time.
Yeah, no, I got that. Yeah, so it's kind of like the year of the family coaster here, where we got the Wild Mouse at Cedar
Right.
Point that I did a few weeks ago, and now this DarKoaster, and we see a lot of little stuff going in, all of spaghetti bowl stuff. I don't even know what those are.
What about Big Bear Mountain? The
Big Bear Mountain
coaster
too in
at Dollywood.
Dollywood. Just stuff I don't know where I'm gonna get yet. Like I'm doing Disney Tron, so what's going to be interesting is I'm going to ride DarKoaster and Tron probably this year at some point. So I'll be able to compare those two because that's a very close comparison there.
Maybe.
Between
I
those
mean, they're
two.
both multi-launches, yeah.
Both multi-launches, both inside for the most part.
Both weird
Both
seating.
with the ski bike concept, So there's
I will definitely check out Big Bear Mountain this.
Oh, you're going to Dollywood? Nice.
Yes.
Yeah, so that'll be fun. So well, thanks for going to the media day for us and reporting back here. And hopefully we have a good time down at Busch Gardens when the group goes. Not without you, of course. We'll send you a peace sign or whatever. But yeah. So as always, I am Andy Robarchak from Chicago, Illinois.
And I'm Jeff Goodman from Williamsburg, Virginia.
Right on, Ride Warriors.
Good night.